the Academy Awards. Probably the most anticipated time of the year for filmgoers, where we get to see the best of the best as judged by Hollywood. In a way, it serves to have a look back on what's been great the previous year, or even on what we may have been missing that is worth taking a look at. While it's never been perfect, with controversy, scandals, and many snubs, it's always been a time to enjoy and celebrate film and what makes it great. So, what happened this year? Sure, it's been bad before, laughable even, but the nominations for this year have gotten a lot of people upset. Some say it's because the ratings are low and the Academy is trying to appeal to a broader audience, with more commercial and crowd-pleasing films. Others say it's always been like this, with stupid decisions being made left and right. And others just think the Academy is clueless at this point. And, in all seriousness, I've got to agree. The nominations have been awful in most cases. Sure, I never get to see all the films I personally thought deserved a nomination on the ceremony, but usually it seems spot on with what's been at least great, with only one or two that feel out of place. In any case, apparently quite a few people have noticed this debacle. It's sad because, in a sense, it makes it look like this was a bad year in film, and while I'd say it wasn't particularly the greatest, there were definitely a lot of good, great, even awesome films that came out with the Academy ignoring them for other films like Bohemian Rhapsody and Black Panther. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Black Panther is a totally okay movie, it's just not Oscar worthy at all, at least in my opinion. So, in this video I'm gonna try to tackle some movies that were actually fucking good. So if you lost hope on 2018, please don't, and try to give these a watch if you haven't already. Also, I'd like to point out that I'm not really ranking these films in any specific order. I do prefer some more than others, but that's not related, as I believe all deserve some recognition. And also, these films have already been praised before, so don't be surprised if you find a movie that you have enjoyed here. I'm just making this a spot for them to be shown. So, to begin, let's first talk about Hereditary. This film follows a family who just lost someone close to them, and creepy stuff starts happening to them, and I fucking love it. This film shook me, I can't stress this enough. I watched this with my sister who loves horror, and she came to me a couple of days afterwards and told me that this was the first time that she couldn't really sleep because of a horror flick. Granted, she hasn't watched a lot of the more obscure and hardcore stuff, but still, it left an impact on her, and definitely on me as well. This film is weird, eerie, disturbing, and has a great plot with some amazing performances. At a surface level, it is already enjoyable. It creates a perfect atmosphere that has you tense and grabbing at your seat at all times. It understands and plays with the concept of showing and not showing you something. It knows what not to show and what to show, and also when to do so. There's this particular scene where the film clashes these concepts and creates one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen, leaving you speechless. If you have seen this movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. I can still hear the screams in my head. That shit was insane. Also, the plot, while enjoyable, is quite crazy and goes completely bonkers by the end, which is something that left many unsatisfied. However, if you pay close attention to the details and the theme that film is going for, not only does it make sense, but it also elevates the film even more. It's a film that works on a surface level and a subtext one, which is something that many horror films and many films in general don't even care of doing. In terms of nominations, in my opinion, this film is great enough to have had a Best Picture nod, but that's probably me being a fanboy. At the very least, Toni Collette's performance was very deserving of the Best Actress nomination, and the cinematography and photography of the film as well. But I guess the Academy doesn't like horror films unless it's a racial critique with a political agenda. Just to clarify, I really like Get Out. I just hate the Academy's criteria for regarding something as worthy. In general, the Academy doesn't treat the horror genre with the respect it deserves. They at best got nominations for side categories like sound mixing and visual effects, which isn't really bad. A sign of a great film lies behind being great at these categories. However, that's just about as much respect as the Academy is gonna give to them, with a few exceptions like Silence of the Lambs, which is more of a crime thriller than a horror film. Next up is 8th Grade by Bo Burnham. If anything, this film proves that today's kids aren't wired differently. I was a bit afraid that this movie would play out like Lady Bird a bit, and even though I really enjoyed Lady Bird and appreciated it for what it was going for, it was hard for me to connect with it as it was just too American for me to actually relate. Bo Burnham, however, has accomplished something exceptional here. It is amazing how this movie transcends its modern and technology-filled tone, leaving at a deeper level a very relatable story, one that many of us have gone through. Even though its current setting may not apply to all of us, the feelings, the emotions and disturbances the awkwardness, and any other instances do. That's what's great about this movie, and that is why it really got to me. I've felt the way she's felt, I've had those insecurities, I've wanted to be better, to be confident, always falling short even when I knew what to do. In the end, this film has a powerful message. It goes places I wasn't expecting it to go, and I appreciate it for being bold and going a step further. Which is why I think this film should be watched by kids and parents and even young adults or adults. There is a lot to learn and appreciate here. In terms of the Oscars, I really think this film could have easily gotten a screenplay nomination. After all, the way this film is written, told, and thus executed makes it feel real and genuine, and more than just a dumb coming-of-age film with smartphones. Finally, in this video, I'm gonna talk about First Man by Damien Chazelle. Now, Damien Chazelle is already well known as a director. He's responsible for films like Whiplash and La La Land, both of which are now regarded as masterpieces, and the latter of which got him his Best Director award. First Man is a biopic that centers around Neil Armstrong and the moon landing. Now, for a movie about such a patriotic event in American and human history, I must admit I love how Chazelle chooses to be upfront and unbiased about its circumstances, without forgetting that this is more a story about its characters rather than the main attraction, that is the moon landing. From the get-go, the film explains the situation without sugarcoating it. The Soviets are winning the space race, Americans are tired of the war in Vietnam, investors for the Gemini and Apollo project are growing skeptical and upset. And despite all the formulas and calculations, the entire operation feels like a shot in the dark. There is little to no control for the outcome. The film excels at showing just how hard and mental the whole mission was, the missteps, how a simple error could cost them their entire lives. Remember how in 2001 A Space Odyssey, there is this dancing-like sequence between spacecrafts with classical music? This movie has something like that, but for about a minute. The rest is basically shit hitting the fan over and over again. But it is with this that the reasoning behind the music is understood. The coordination and precision needed for the things to go right are huge, and when it does, it is truly a sight to behold. And at the heart of the situation, we have a character who is stoic, yet broken inside. A man whose marriage is falling apart, trying to survive the loss of a child, the trauma of such events, of losing his partners, of having to go on a mission without being certain that he'll make it back, that his kids will see him again. It all takes a toll on him and his family. First Man steps aside from Hollywood expectations. There's no grandeur or chauvinism to be found, at least not of the kind that many would expect, as Chazelle shoves all that away for a story needed to be told. So, given all that, why wasn't it nominated? It could have easily been nominated for screenplay, for cinematography, for photography, for directing, but in my opinion at least, the reason why it wasn't is because he's already won 2 years ago, which is like the biggest sin for the Academy Awards. If you've already won, you better step aside, because you're not gonna win again, at least not in short span. Those are, in part, some of the rules that the audience has grown with and is getting tired of. If you won before, you're probably not gonna win or be nominated in the short term, even if what you're doing is beyond great. It has happened before, and it keeps happening. Well, that's about it for this video. I really hope you guys liked it. I'll continue with other films I believe deserve this spot, and probably some other subjects that might be of interest to you. This is my very first video, so I hope you guys can bear with me as I'm trying to get better with each step I take. So that's about it for now. If you like it, please like, subscribe, comment. It really helps, and yeah, I'll see you next time.